I guess that's something that is kind of difficult, but what's good is we don't, when having recorded songs, we don't then just try and replicate the recorded version live. So I think Grey Shirt and Tie is a perfect example of how we maybe don't always consolidate the two, and it's not to say that it's either electronic or traditional rock, because we use a lot of samplers and laptops, and so for stuff like Never Fade Away and some of the other tracks in the set, we managed to, I guess, straddle both of those horses. But in the case of Grey Shirt and Tie, hopefully it'll show people who, once they've heard the album, there's a lot of different sounds and textures on there, and live it's more like we then give a version of the track that we feel is best suited to the live environment that might not be best suited to the recorded environment. I think it's a potentially fair comment. I don't think it's something that we deal in, but maybe it is a sin that we're guilty of only. Generally, I think it's easy to get bored in interviews, and you start getting asked the same question again and again, so you try and entertain yourself by ratcheting up your sentences to be ridiculous and entertaining to yourself, but potentially then end up saying things not that you regret, because I don't think you should ever regret what you say in an interview, but things can be taken out of context, or things can seem ridiculous. I, off the top of my head, think there is maybe some hyperbole revolving around the band, but only because we're being forced to face questions or situations that aren't necessarily befitting or deserved for a band who only has 3 sort of MP3s floating around the internet. Well, by the sound of that sentence, I'd probably be the punchee rather than the puncher. I don't think I'm really a very qualified fighter in a physical sense, so I try and avoid punching anyone in the face for fear of breaking my hand. I think Spector trying to absolve ourselves from violent acts via the means of meditation and alcoholism in equal measure. Though being drunk often does lead to fighting. I don't want to punch anyone in the face for fear it would karmically bring punches back to me. I broke a mirror upstairs in the dressing room, and so I'm already feeling pretty nervous about bad luck, and I think going around punching people or wishing to punch people is probably negative. I don't think I ever have punched someone. I once got paid £500 to get punched in the face earlier this year, before we were lucky enough to be making any money from music. It was a low point when Vice offered me £500 to have a professional boxer punch me. It was a difficult day, but I left £500 the richer. The shindig was definitely, it was an intense experience. We were playing, and just sort of in front of us was Noel Gallagher, and on our left was Bjork, and right, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, or the Chili's as I believe a lot of their fans refer to them. It was, I don't know, I think it came about, just the booker came to see us at a show, or had seen us supporting someone at another show. I wasn't expecting it to happen necessarily at all, let alone so early on this side of Christmas. We happened to get just in for the last show of the season. It's one of those things, Jules Holland, that as a music fan growing up in Britain, I guess for me it was one of the sort of the dreams, something to aim for. And so when it happened, it took upon a really almost otherworldliness, because I felt myself within the television, a bit like that scene in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory when Mike TV gets cut down to the little particles and rebuilt in the TV. It was impossible it was impossible to just imagine we were playing a gig playing songs in the studio, when all I was imagining was watching TV growing up, things like Live and Kicking that were all filmed in Studio One at BBC, and thinking, no, we're actually inside someone's television performing their music at home. But I already can't remember it. I was watching it on YouTube back the other day, and watching myself do things that I just can't remember happening. By the time it finished, it had zoomed past so much that I'd already forgotten the whole thing. But it was a real an honour and a privilege, I guess, because Jules Holland's like a British institution, and if the band breaks up tomorrow, I'll be proud that we can look back on that and show someone if they're interested in the future. I haven't got naked, actually. I mean, I've been naked, obviously. I guess everyone has. But I don't think I have any stupid naked moments. If I did, I don't know if I'd talk about them on the internet, but I'm glad to hear that you've got a big pink moment. I'm sure Milo's got some more naked stories than Spector do. I guess that would be something to hope to achieve from our career, that at some point we would be naked, potentially with hilarious consequences. Oh, that's a good question. If I was to try and boil it down to one word, I think there's a certain effortlessness is maybe the word I'd use, in that though it probably seems like something we've thought about or tried harder with than those bands, actually the songwriting process in Spector is a lot more effortless. I don't think or try. I don't try and aim to do something cool or interesting or desirable. It's just a more, I think, genuine expression of emotion, and so I guess there's a certain effortlessness to it. Whereas with Les Inc., because we were still at school and wanted to be cool and wanted to play in venues in cool places and have people write about us on message boards, there's maybe some ulterior motive. And with Oxeagle Line Men, the songwriting process was really pained and extensive and intricate and intimate and unmusical, almost more mathematical. Whereas with Spector, it's a lot less thought through. It's just, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think that's up to me, but there seems to be a large group of so-called tastemakers who believe that we have some sort of career carved out in front of us, which, as far as I can tell by looking at how these things have worked out in the past, that probably means we've got less chance of a long-term career. So ideally, we'll make some albums and grow as a band and have the chance to make music that breathes and can be enjoyed and understood by many. But the reality of it is that we could, have more people talking about us than have heard us, build up an anticipation and a dislike for the band before we've made an album that's then over-marketed and undersells and would cause us to be dropped by our label and then be seen as some sort of black sheep of 2012. Hopefully that won't happen, but I think that's as likely as us making a hit record. So, yeah.